Hello everybody, what's up? I hope all is well. Welcome to Music Talk Live number 26. I think we're already number 26, which is, could it be half a year already? Well, it's a weekly thing and we've done 26, so that sounds crazy to me. It's impossible. Have we been going for 6 months? Well, maybe we have. And I'm kind of running out of ideas. No, just kidding. I'm doing good. I have quite a few things to show you yet. And so welcome everybody. I see there's a few people in the chat room already. There is Art. Hello, Alberto. ¿Qué tal? If you are there and you're silent, please say hello to everyone. It's kind of freezing in here today. So today we have a pretty interesting topic. And am I talking to myself? No. Okay. You should be able to hear me. Yes, I had a bit of a problem with the meter, but it looks like it's working. So for those of you who are new, we are live every Saturday, 6:30 p.m. Central European Time. You kind of have to figure out your own time zone, but just to give you an idea, it's 12:30 in the afternoon in New York on the West Coast, on the East Coast, and on the West Coast is about 9:30 a.m. Okay, if you live in Asia, then it would be late afternoon or maybe even in the evening. But I know there's a lot of you in Asia who follow us at night, so thank you very much. I got some emails and it's very much appreciated. But don't be shy, please join the chat room. Hello, Jim. Hello, Reki. You're back? All right, good to see you again. All right, everybody. So if you're new, please do subscribe to the channel because it will really help out, and it also gives me an idea of where to go. So if I see there's a lot of people subscribing to good videos, then I will know to keep going in that direction. Sometimes I'm in a bit of a vacuum here. And news this week, well, certainly there's been the book thing, which I would like you to thank all of you because I got such an amazing response to the book. Of course, I had a lot of orders for it, which has been great. You've been very patient because I have to send out manually every link, and we're looking into another solution, but I kind of like to write a little message when I send it. And more important than that, I've gotten a lot of feedback from you, and it's been amazing. So it's been great to hear that it's been helpful. Feel free to ask any questions. I made a little video on YouTube, here it is, of me explaining the book a little bit. And so you can certainly comment on that video if you would like to ask questions. You can ask them here in the chat room. You can ask them here in the videos on the live stream. It doesn't matter where, but I will try to answer all your questions. And for those of you who don't know, last week I published my first book. There's going to be a whole lot of them. It's a guitar method that I'm working on. As a matter of fact, I'm working on the second book right now. And I won't tell you the details yet, but it will be out in, it will be a while, but I'm really hard at work on it. And it's pretty a big task because it's a bit more complicated than I thought. When things are in your head, it's easy, right? And then you have to put them down on paper and it gets a bit harder. But so anyway, this is the book, and you guys have been amazing with it. And if you are new or you haven't seen this yet and you want to check it out, you can either get it right now or you can just watch that video I talked about. There's going to be a link, and then you can see if it's for you or not. You can ask people here who got it if they like it, and you can ask me questions. And it's really there to help you out because I think it's important to have something that's from the point of view of the student. And anyway, that's it. And also, I would like to thank my sponsors, which is you, because again, you have humbled me with your donations. I took the liberty of making the donation thing a bit easier. There's a link in the description it's a very simple step with PayPal. I don't do Patreon because I want everybody to have the same amount of information. So if you want to contribute, great. If you don't want to contribute, because I get that Patreon thing often. And I just feel that we should have these videos for everyone. And if you feel like contributing, there's a link. And if you just either can't or don't want to or whatever it is, you're still free to come and watch the videos, and I will give you the same information as, compared to those who do want to contribute. Because I think not everybody can. Now we're coming off a year that's been strange and stressful economically for a lot of people and financially, not only for us musicians, but people in all walks of life have had a pretty hard time with the virus. So I understand that sometimes you just want to learn to play guitar, and if you can get stuff and you're not able to pay for it, then that's kind of why the channel started. So for those of you who do contribute though, thank you very much. I really appreciate it. And it's a measure of the success of this series, not of me, but of the idea of me teaching you pretty much everything I know. It's not I'm holding anything back. All right, and so that's great. And finally, I do want to tell you about the CDs because I've condensed all the music. Of course, digitally is still the same. CD-wise, I'm now selling all the CDs from here, from the music school, from the guitar studio. We're sending all the CDs out, and that allows me to do kind of cool things like sales, like this one. So right now we have, just in time for Christmas, you can get all my CDs and get one for free. You know, I can do all that only if I control the shipping and the logistics. Otherwise, I will be at the mercy of stores and stuff like that. So right now, everything has been centralized here, and I will be able to do cool things, such as, if you want to, sign the CDs for you, which I've been asked often. And you know, if you have any requests, you can fill them out, and within reason, of course. I won't come and dance naked at your house. Probably. I probably won't. You never know, though, if you ask nicely. And so those are the news, and I'm trying to take control. No, I already had control, but you know, I'm trying to make everything as easy as possible for you. And why not, right? As I always say, that's why I make records. I make records so that I can give them to people, right? Not to keep them for myself. So if I do 1 or 2 plugs sometimes, do forgive me, but you know, it's important to me to get the stuff out. And what else happened this week? There's a few things, but I want to get started right away because it's going to be pretty intense today. And so I just wanted to share this. Have you guys seen this? This is about this guy, Honnold. And he has, Alex Honnold, that's his name. He has climbed El Capitan in Yosemite with no rope. So you see him there, and it's actually, this is real, right? This is not just a picture. It's real. He's climbing, and he has no rope. And the thing is that that's been the most stressful film I've ever seen. You know, I love horror movies and I love thrillers, and Alien is my favorite movie of all time, probably, and it's nothing compared to this. I mean, this is nuts. I couldn't watch. The thing is, I have vertigo, so if I'm in a control situation, like I jumped off a plane, I love roller coasters, right? I've done all kinds of crazy stuff, but I'm in control of it, right? But just to see somebody do that, like if you put me on a ledge without anything to save me, I would fall off. That's what I would do. I would just fall off. And as a matter of fact, when I skydove or skydived, I fell off the plane. I really, you know, they didn't have to push me. I was like, wait, I looked down and I just, you know, I can't control myself. And so, yeah, so that was crazy. And I couldn't stop watching. Not in a morbid way. I knew he wasn't going to fall, right? I don't think they would make a movie about him if he fell off to his death. But, you know, I just couldn't stop watching. But I've never been so stressed in my whole life. If you haven't watched it, I suggest you have a look. And it's a proof, it's a great, it shows what determination and, constant practice and failure and repeating failure until you succeed can bring. So I would suggest you watch it. There is a lot of stuff on YouTube about Alex, including interviews and that. His movie is great and was worth the purchase. That is art. Yes. Oh man, he's crazy. He was crazy. Let me show you the picture one more time and then we start, yeah? You see that? You see the trees? Those are huge trees. I don't know if you've ever been to Yosemite. Those are big trees. These are not, and look at him. And probably he's not even halfway up. So yeah, I really had a hard time watching it, but I loved it. And I certainly suggest everybody does it. Everybody watches it. No, nobody should do it. Just watch it, okay? So how about we get started? There's a few of you already in the room. Hello, everyone again. Welcome. And let's get started with the 12 positions. And why would I want to do that? So the main idea here is that we looked at cage and 3 notes per string. All right, I hope the microphone is good. And, we talked about how important it is to recognize the difference between positions and learning a scale and what a scale is for. What you use to learn a scale is basically not that important because, there you go. It's not that important because the ultimate goal of learning the scale is to know the scale and know how to use it, not to have patterns memorized. If you want more about this, you can check out the latest, when was it? 2 weeks ago, we talked about it. And to me, there are many ways of learning scales. I went through a few with you, 1 string, 3 notes per string, cage system. And this one is really the one that when people say, well, cage is easy and this and that, and I know my scales, I always bring this out. Because if you know this, then you know your scale. No matter what scale it is, we're going to start easy today. We're going to do C major, right? So everybody can follow along, and you pretty much know. If you have any doubt or if you can't see exactly what I'm doing, you can always figure it out. It's only natural notes. But the reason you would want to do it is because the big risk of learning position playing is that you become a slave to the positions. So you start seeing a scale as a position. You see a major scale as this shape or this set of shapes. You see a minor position as that shape. And your playing becomes influenced by the method you're using, which is true about cage and 3 notes per string and even single strings. It is true. You do get tied to it in the beginning. Now, if you take it further and further and further, then you get to a point where you can free yourself from the positions and start seeing the scale as the total sum of all these parts, which is what you want. What you want is then blur the lines of all these positions, blur the actual shapes of the positions, and just see the notes, right? But there's quite a bit of theory for that. You have to know the notes. You have to know the notes on the fretboard. You have to know your intervals. You have to know scale theory, right? How to go from one scale to another. And that can be, it's not difficult, but it might take time. So the reason cage, for example, works so well is that until you get to that point where you can afford to forget everything, because if you forget things you haven't learned, that doesn't count, right? So before you get to the point where you can forget everything you learned, at least you can play, okay? So if I have a student, even though I know that he should know everything in every scale, in every string, in every key, I will not demand it of him too soon, because then I will point in another direction where he won't be able to actually make music for maybe months or years, depending on how long he practices every day. So these systems like cage and so on, they give you an access point, an entry point to be able to perform, to improvise, and why not? You can make great music with these simple patterns, of course. Just one scale position of the cage system, that's more than 2 octaves. You're fine, you can do anything you want. But when you're ready to move on, I found this method incredibly useful and frustrating. So it's not going to be easy, all right? But the idea is this. While, for example, the cage system bases its positions on groups of roots, right? We had these 5 forms, and so we have 5 positions. The 3 notes per string method is based on it's based on having 1 position per note of the scale, so on a 7 note scale, that's 7 positions. The single string thing is, of course, 1 scale per string. But this one really is based on the possibilities of the guitar, which means this. If on the guitar we have 12 frets before we repeat, so we're going to count only the first 12, because everything you do down here is the same up here. So we're not going to focus on that. But if it is true that we have 12 frets, that they correspond to the 12 notes, then there must be a way to play every scale on each of these positions. Okay, so let me give you the rules, and it will help you understand exactly what I'm talking about. The basic rules of this system. The idea is this. It all starts, by the way, how do I get into this? I got into this because I saw a documentary on an orchestral instrument, which I forget what it was. Or I think it was an ethnic instrument, and it was really it repeated a lot. And the guy said that, it doesn't really matter if it sounds complicated, because you have everything available to you just in the first position. And then once I looked deep into it, I was just a kid, but I looked into it and I said, that's true, right? Because I have my open string, and I can go chromatically all the way up to the first string, and I will go through the whole chromatic scale, so all 12 notes, more than twice. So that will give me everything. It will give me every possible scale, every possible mode, every possible arpeggio, every possible everything. It's all in here, in these 4 frets, plus the open string. And then, again, eventually I got the Goodrick book, The Advancing Guitarist, and he really pushes it well beyond reason. But the idea is this. If you could have a guitar that is only made out of 5 frets, tuned as our guitar is, you would have everything available to you in those 5 frets. So it could be the open string plus 4 frets, or just 5 frets anywhere. Because you have the chromatic scale in more than 1 octave, you can do anything. You can do 100% everything that is possible on every instrument in the world. You can do it on 5 frets. And so I had started taking it further, and then I got the book, and he explains it very clearly. But here's the idea, and it's not a Goodrick thing, right? This is a method that is used, for example, in classical guitar. If you study classical guitar, and when I was 20, I think, I decided that I had to know how to read music, because I have, imposter syndrome. I still have it today, as you know. I'm sitting here talking to you, like, what are you talking about? Why are you teaching people stuff? You don't know how to play, or why are you making music? That happens to everyone. You finish a record and you're like, man, this shit. Why did I make this record? Nobody's gonna like it, right? And it happens. It happens to pretty much everyone. But when I was starting out, because I started out from day one playing in a live band, and surviving out there, and I had this feel of being inadequate. Every time I talked to people, they knew chords, they knew theory, they knew intervals. And so for me, it was a constant catch-up. Every week or every month, I said, okay, well, now I have to learn these chords. Everybody knows them. I have to learn ear training. I don't even know what a second is. And why is it called a second? So I was always catching up to people who knew more. And one day I decided, okay, I have to learn how to read music. So I took a whole summer, 8 hours a day, trying to learn how to read music. And I discovered it was a very classically based method. And it was the first time that I heard first position, third position, and it was based on the actual fret. And the reason was that depending on the kind of music that I was trying to read, depending on the key, like C major has no sharps and no flats, so there would be certain areas of the neck where it would be more comfortable to play only natural notes. But then when some of the sharps or flats were introduced, then these methods would start to introduce you to second position or sixth position, because sixth position, well, look, sixth position, it will work very well if you have a bunch of flats. But now if you have sharps, don't try to do it in first position, maybe move up to the 4th fret, and then it will kind of lock together much easier. And so that was the thing that got me thinking about, why am I not taking advantage of it? Why am I playing everything in boxes, right? And so eventually, when I got into it really pretty heavily, of course, I learned how to read music. At the end of the summer, I was pretty good at it. Never used it, so I forgot pretty much everything about it. But I like to write my own music on paper just because it helps me think, and so I still do it. But I've never really had to read music, sight read music at all, ever. So if you're thinking about spending a whole summer, 8 hours a day doing it, maybe not, right? Maybe you should practice alternate picking. So here's the basic idea. We have 12 frets, and so we're going to have 12 positions. The name of the position is going to be given by the fret that coincides with your first finger. So if my position is this is 4th position because my index finger is on the 4th fret. Okay, this is the first rule. So we're going to have 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and so on until the 12th. The other rule is that for every position, which covers 4 frets, of course, if you have 6 fingers, then you have an advantage. But for those of us who have 4 fingers, then it's only 4 frets. So we can use the index finger, can move back 1 fret. Okay, so I'm in 5th position here, right? 5th fret. I can move the index finger down to the 4th fret, and I can stretch my little finger up 1 fret. So each position of 4 frets allows for a total of 6. Okay, so these are the 2 rules. There's a couple more things we'll get into as we work on it. Okay, so the first possible shape or the first possible position would be the first position. We're going to have our index finger on the 1st fret. And the rules is that you can find everything you want on just these 6 frets, or maybe even less. All right, so let's get started. And one thing, it's called 12 positions, but it's a lot more. So it's worse than it sounds, and you'll see why in a second. Okay, so let's see position 1. Position 1 means index finger on the first fret, and basically we want to play C major, so I know it's only natural notes, and I can use the index finger for the first fret, or hypothetically for the open string. Of course, I'm not that dumb, and I will just lift the finger and play the open string. So here I am. I'm thinking, well, if I lift my index finger, then I have an E, which fits. So I could play it like this. E, then I have F, G. I could stretch the little finger all the way up to 5, right? Or I could take advantage of the next open string and play this. So E, F, G, A, B, C. When I get to this C, I could play this D here, or I could move up to the next string, and so on. Okay, so I'm going to play a couple of variations. One of them is pretty easy. So I follow the basic shape. Now, I could play the B here on the 4th fret, or let ring the next open string. Right? Can you hear the guitar? I hope you can. Okay, I'm seeing your questions. I'll get to them in a second. Let me not stop, because then I'll forget where I was. All right, so I could do it like that, or I could do this. Play the B here. Okay, but how about this little finger? Well, I could do this. You see, I can do all kinds of stuff. This is only one position. How many are there? I don't know. There's like a lot of them. One time I sat down and I wrote all of them. I think there's some of them have like 5 or 6 or 7, because you can do this: 0, 1, 3, 5, 2, 3, and the 5 played down here. So you can mix, or you can do this. And now, why would I do this? Well, because when you know how to do this, you know your scale in every possible way, and you're not tied to any position. So the main advantage is not that you learn 55 positions. The main advantage is that you start realizing what forgetting position really means. Forgetting a position, so I studied the cage system and I know it so well that I can forget it. What it means is that it starts to lose usefulness, because you know every note on every scale. We're doing C major now. If I were to do E major, which has 4 sharps, do you know how to set them up over all the strings? You see what I mean? So it's really a great method not to learn 50 positions. It's a good method to forget all the positions you already learned, and it's incredibly useful. And I will have to convince you, because looking at it like this, you're like, this is crazy. This is so much work. But it's incredibly useful. And I'm going to show you now position 2, all right? So you see one little rule that we forgot. So check this out. Now I'm on fret 2, right? This one here, which is an F, is certainly within reach. I can use it. As a matter of fact, I should use it, because there's no other way I can play this F. Okay, so when I see that, I'm like, okay, this is like mandatory. I have to play this note. Now this B now becomes out of reach. So now I cannot play 4 strings. I can only play 4 notes, only 3 notes. And this E here also is out of reach. Now, we get to this F. You see this? There's an F here on the 6th fret of the 2nd string. F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E. Now you could say, I could play this 6th fret with the little finger, right? But we're going to set up one more rule, just one final one, that you never play 2 notes consecutively with the same finger. Okay, so we don't do this. Okay, of course you could eventually, you know, when you use this to play and improvise, you can do whatever you want. But for now, for learning positions, let's set that rule so that it clears up the air a little bit and we know what we're doing. So when I'm here, I'm not going up. I move to the next string. Whoops, what did I do? Yeah, okay. Sorry. So this position, I'm basically tied to this one. Right? I think I'm not missing any other options, so basically on position 2, there's only this one way to play C major. When I move up to 3, we're not going to go through all 12, right? I selected a few. But when I move up to 3, now this becomes, I think this is pretty interesting. So check this out. I'm on 3. This F now is out of reach. Even though I could reach it with my finger, I'm following the rules here, and I say, okay, well, that's out of reach. I have a B here, G, A, B, and I have a B down here. But I can't play this B, because if I do that, I would have to do this. And I don't want to play 2 notes consecutively with the same finger. Why am I not doing this, using these 2 fingers, is because each finger has to stay on its own fret. 3, 4, 5, 6. I can move these fingers. These 2 cannot move, and these 2 can open 1 fret. So basically now I have to play G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. Now this D, I could play in any of those 2 positions, okay? Where are we? Yeah. Now I could do B, C, D, or B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B. Okay? Really hard to talk as I do this. It's very cerebral somehow. But you see what I mean? So you could do this on all 12. I'm going to show you 3 more just randomly. Right? We're not going to go all the way up. But then you can ask all the questions you want, and why should you do this can be a good question, but I hope it's clear by now. Yes, it's a GNL guitar. Yeah, and this one is the Strat. I have a GNL Strat, and I changed, I modified it a bit. But this one is stock, so yeah, it sounds great. This is the guitar that I used on a few songs actually, and I think I said this already. I'm one of those boring people who repeat the same thing all the time. But yeah, it's a really good guitar for the price. It's very fairly priced. It's a tribute. Okay, so if you ever need a telly, this is a good option. All right, so position 6. Let's see what happens. I put my index finger on the 6th fret. Let me just have a sip of tea. Okay, so I'm on the 6th fret with the index finger. So first thing I notice is I have this A here on the 5th, and I'm going to use it. And I can play A, B, C, and I could play a D on the 10th. Now the thing is, when you're doing this, if you start spreading your fingers too wide, so playing 4 notes, eventually you kind of run over yourself, because the guitar is built basically by having either 2 or 3 notes per string. That's the most common way of playing, because just the way the guitar is set up. So with the guitar, once you go over the 4 notes, over the 3 notes, so once you have 4 notes per string, then you probably start seeing this movement of your hand. These are 4 notes per string, but you see how I have to move towards, towards the top of the fretboard. The reason is just because the way it's built. Now, in this case, I'm playing in a very strict position. I can't go up because these 2 fingers are tied to their own frets. So it's not the best thing to do to start playing 4 notes, because eventually you have to restart. So if I keep playing 4 or 3, I'm left without any notes to play on the next string. All right, so my suggestion is always start with the 3 notes tops. So it would be A, B, C, and leave this D for the next string. I'm on 6, okay. All right, so I'm doing this, bringing my index finger back to where it belongs, and do this. I could do and then here play this E here. Oh no, sorry, I can't. I have to play like this. Sorry, like this. Wait, there's no 5. Okay, I could do this or I could do this. 4 notes. right? Sorry, I can't play the 5 with my first finger, the 6 with my second finger. I can't do that. Second and third are tied to 6, 7, and 8. All right, so this screws up with your brain a bit, and you shouldn't be talking when you're doing this. All right, position 9, let's try another one. Position 9, it's a C sharp, and surprisingly, C sharp makes C major very easy. Easier than starting on 8. But if I'm here on 9, I can play this 8, 10, 12, 9, 10, 12 twice. Now, this 13 here, I could play it, but it would mean playing 2 notes with the same finger, so I leave it. Right? And then let me show you one more, position 12. I think I'm going a bit fast, but really, there's not much more that I can show you because this is so cerebral. You have to do it yourself. But let's do 12, which is kind of the same as an open string, but like a -1, right? So here I would do 12, 13, 15, 12, 14, 15, 12, 14, 15, and then decide if I want to do this, if I want to do this. Right? And so basically that's all you have to do. We did only 6 positions, there's 12, so it takes a while, and this is only C major. Now, how do you take this further? Well, wait, sorry, I didn't mean to I didn't mean to get this going. Okay, I know why that happened. Let's see. Sorry about that. Although, do feel free to do subscribe if you want to, but all right, yeah. Sorry. So let's try something different, just for the sake of it. Let's do something really a bit more complicated. Like maybe let's say that we want to play C Phrygian, right? C Phrygian has, let's do C minor, so more people know it. So C minor has 3 flats. 3 flats is pretty complicated. You have to know what you're doing. You have to keep in mind that every B, every E, and every A will be flat. And so let's start on a random number, something we haven't done. Let's start on number 7. Okay, 7 is B, so we know it's not in there. And so all you have to do now is go like, okay, B flat, C, D, E flat, F, G, A flat, B flat, C. So you go through all these scales, and you have to be able to do it like this, right? And even then, you can probably do better than that by moving your position to include several different options for each position. And it takes a while, and you probably will never get it 100% like that. Okay, so you might have to pause for a second and think about it. So my suggestion of how you do this would be to dedicate maybe I don't know how much. By the way, how long do you guys practice every day? Please do answer that. Let me know how often you play. So let's say how many days of a week you play and how many hours a day. Okay, because I have no idea who I'm talking to in this regard. Because I used to practice 10 or 12 hours every day, or 9 hours, depending. I remember I have an old diary. And I used to write down all my, the time that I spent. And when I played 6 hours, I would have bad. I would write bad, make up tomorrow. So 6 hours was a bad day. So, okay, yeah. So Alberto, 1 hour, that's good. 1 hour a day is good. That is art, not every day, that's fine. Carlos, half an hour every day, good. Jim, every day from half hour to 3 hours. That's great. And Jenny, a few hours a week. All right, man. Reiki, you practice 3 hours a day. That's great. All right. Well, it's great to hear. Alberto, you do half hour of technique and then songs. That's good. Always play music. Yeah, technique is fine for a while, and then you have to make music. All right, great. So I would probably do, if you do 1 hour a day, and you want to get into this, I would do it for 15 minutes for maybe a few months or a few weeks. See how it goes. There's no end result. There's no real objective with this. You're not trying to memorize 12 plus all the variation, you know, let's say 20 or 30 positions for every key, for every kind of scale, you know, it gets out of hand real quick. What you're trying to do is get a new perspective on scales. You're trying to get a new perspective on playing patterns, because when you know, a lot of you, well, some of you are my students online, and you know, I know when you're playing a scale that you're just playing the scale. I know when you don't know a scale. I can hear it, because you last, or I do too, you know, we last for 20 seconds and it sounds inspired and it sounds like you know what you're doing, and then it starts, you know, like it's like you're playing, it starts losing altitude, you run out of fuel, and then, you know, and you start just moving around the position, and we all play the same stuff. And so this will really wake you up to it. And it's a great thing. And sometimes I have to kind of crusade it. You know, I have to go like, no, you really have, I know you don't understand why now, but you really have to do it. It's the most important thing. And it will change your life. And the same with one string. You know, when we talked about playing on one string, that video, I think, would have benefited so many people. And it has like, no, I don't know, maybe 200 views or less. And it's crazy, because I think so many people could just watch it for 5 minutes, just see what it's about. You don't even have to listen to me for 45 minutes. You just watch it, get the idea, and get to work. And it will change their life completely. It will change the way you look at the neck. It will make you learn things that you didn't know you needed to learn. It will wake up your ear to intervals. It's crazy, you know, it's crazy. But so do try it. Trust me on it. And, you know, I can't really convince you, but I'm trying, as you can see. Alberto, you play, okay, yeah. Issue, okay, what's up, Issue? 2 hours a day, that's great. Wow, you guys are great, look at that. Reiki 3 hours, all right. Hey, sir, I've been practicing shapes, but I'm not able to create some good solos. How should I practice in order to create a solo? Please help. All right. So let me close this up, Issue, and then we go to the Q&A, and I will answer your questions. And Jenny, I'll get to yours as well. So yeah, well, that's it. That's it about the 12 positions. I hope you enjoyed this. I know it's been brief. I had two options today, make a brief one or make a 6-hour video. I opted for the first one, and then if you guys are really into this, we can get into more detail. But really, there's not much to say unless I really go deep with it, and I don't want to yet. Because you have to introduce these things little by little. Not everybody's a psychopath who wants to play 8 hours every day. So please give it a shot, see how it feels under your fingers. And if C major is too easy for you, then go for that circle of fifths. Start adding sharps and flats, do some modes, right? So if you know C major, like, okay, can I play Lydian? Can I play Lydian dominant everywhere? Can I see this? You know, all these different notes, and check it out. Let me know how it goes. If you are watching this from the future, please leave a comment, and you can insult me if you want to. If you spend the last 4 hours doing one position, I'll take responsibility for it. All right, so let's move on to the Q&A. Issue. So, Issue Maurya. Am I saying it right? Issue Maurya. Well, hello to you, sir. And yes, so if I could help you write a solo instead of learning scales. Well, you say you've been practicing shapes, and I hate to be obvious, but if you practice shapes, you're going to play shapes. And, you know, I don't want to be callous, because it's a thing that I always say, sometimes the most obvious things are the most true. And if you're practicing your scales, like for example, if you say you play, well, I can't see, 2 hours a day. So if you spend 1 hour every day to playing scales, just learning scales, and then you move on to chords or you learn songs, your connection to the scales will be playing shapes, and you'll never get out of it. If you practice like this, you will play like this. And I think what you should do maybe is, first off, I don't know if you're doing this, but if you're not doing it, maybe divide it up. So if you do 1 hour, you do 15 minutes of shapes, and then you do 45 minutes of music. And the music you make can be tied to the position, right? So if I'm studying a new scale, and I'm going like, okay, well, right? Like an alter scale. And like, man, I really should know how to play the alter scale, so let me get into it. And the first step is, of course, I need to know it. I need to know how to play. I need to put it under my fingers, and that will require some time. It requires maybe some chromatic approaches. So I play so many times, right, all over the neck. So I play 100 times, and I get into my fingers, and now I say, okay, well, now I know the scale, and maybe I should start making some music with it. So maybe I put a chord underneath, a chord that would fit with the scale. And start improvising over it. My first improvisations maybe end up being very similar to me playing the scale up and down, but then slowly, what we talked about many times, and what I really focus on, those of you who are students of mine, you know, you hate me for it, but you know it's true. If you start seeing the scale in a better way, then instead of seeing the scale like at eye level, so imagine you're on a little path and you have to step on one stone at a time, and you cannot see the next stone until you step on the first one, and then you see the second one. That's how you play scales when you are learning them as shapes. And that will only take you so far. And then when you try to jump from one stone, jump one and hop onto the next one, sometimes you miss, and sometimes if you miss, you might fall to your death, or you might just get a bit wet. I don't know. But it's, you know, you realize that it's not the best way to make music with a scale. You have the scale under your fingers, but each note is tethered to the one before and the one after. It's tied to it. You depend on it. It's like we're all hanging on for dear life. And so what you want to do eventually is find the closest tree, climb it, and then you can see the whole path in front of you, and you see all your options. And with a scale like this, that is complex and complicated, right, this becomes a lot harder than playing it up and down. But unless you do it, you'll never get out of going down and up. And so my suggestion is, if you're practicing one single scale, for example, well, instead of playing it for 2 hours, just play for a little while, and then start doing improvisations or with that scale, but up the difficulty every single time. So okay, let me just play on two strings, but really let me hear the scale. Can I hear it? Am I hearing all these relationships? If I'm not, let me spend another half hour with it. But if I do hear it, maybe could I? And now I have all these new relationships. And once you get deep with them, then you add one more string, and then one more string, and then one more string. And that's your first position, or whatever it is. And then you have it for today. Maybe that's enough. And the other thing is, when you improvise or you try to, are you following me? I hope you're not. You haven't passed out. And if you get better and better at it, the other thing I would say is never play just to play. When we play shapes, scale shapes, let's play just something normal. Let's play G major, right? When I play like this all the time, even if I do it, mindfully, I'm trying to follow a good tempo, I'm still basically musically, I'm not doing anything. I'm really focused on the technique. I'm focused on the memory, right? I'm memorizing my scale. I'm memorizing the pattern. I'm memorizing a sequence, but I'm not invested musically. I'm not doing anything with my ear. So first thing is sing the scale, right, like that. But the next thing is only play something that you want to hear. So start with a note, and then hear what it is you want to hear. Say, this one I don't like. Okay, let me not play this. right? So if I screw up a little bit, well, I'm trying to save it. I'm always trying to save the melody. I'm always going for the melody, not for the pattern. Okay. So issue, I hope this helps you. And I think he left because I'm like, man, I didn't ask for all this. I'm kidding, issue. I hope I could help you. Jenny, is your book gonna wake me up? Well, of course it is. Have you tried it? Have you done some work on it? I know you got it. But yes, although, I mean, the books, at least these first ones, they're very technical. So they're really to get your hands into shape so that you can start thinking about the music. But Alberto says, sure, Jenny, I have it. And from exercise 11, you need to stay focused on the exercise to be in time. Yes, and that's why I stressed on the recordings. You need to, if you try to keep time and all that stuff, the book is going to take a long while to finish. It's 70 exercises, and some of them are pretty intense if you try to play them perfectly on time with good technique. And also the audios I did are moderate. They're pretty slow, but that's certainly not the final goal. You should try to practice them faster and faster. The reason I didn't play them shred-like is, first of all, because that's not necessarily what you are looking for, but also because I don't want to give the impression that alternate picking or any technique that I will discuss in several books, there's no set objective for it. You should just play it until you reach the level of technique you want, right? And then eventually you can always get back and increase it. But technique is only there to serve you and to serve your music. So I only recorded it as fast as I thought it would be necessary to show you the sound and the difficulty of some of the intricacies of the exercise, no more. All right, so hoping to break out of that. Yes, I'm sure. Try these little tips, Jenny. Sir, I do warm up for 15, then 15-minute chromatic, then I do major scale of 5 shapes. Could you please help how to connect all these shapes? I really helped you a lot. That's great, Shishu. Well, it's good to hear. That's why we're here. And I know you were listening. I was just kidding, of course. Maybe you could watch a video that we did not too long ago on scales. Okay, and I talked about how I would approach it. It would be learn the cage system, learn 3 notes per string, learn 1 string. I think check out the video on 1 string. It's only a few weeks old, and I think it would help you. It would be helpful, at least as a bit of inspiration. Jenny, page 3, you have my pinky going from 1 note to the next, like a 3 to a 4. Okay, is that bad? Oh yeah, I think I know which one you mean. I'm sorry, right now I can't remember all the pages, but if you have any questions on it, please feel free to, maybe leave them in the comment, and then next week I can get to it. I am planning to start learning staff notation. Well, were you here, Issue, at the beginning of this live? If you weren't, as soon as it's over, it will be posted on YouTube. Check it out, because I tell a little story of me spending a whole summer learning notation, sight reading, and then never using it. But yes, you should learn how to read music at a very elemental, basic level. I think that is helpful. Absolutely. We don't want to think, oh, 5th fret, 4th fret. Yes, I think you do need to know your scales. Alberto says, have you tried it with acoustic? Your fingers will be on fire. Oh, you mean the book? Yeah, wait till you get the legato book. Then, then we'll discuss acoustic guitar. A couple of weeks ago, you showed 3 notes per string and then introduced 4 notes per string. I was happy to move up and down the neck for once. Yes, that was, I think, on the 1 string video or one of the following one. But I always talk about, the way that I like to approach guitar. But Issue, let me go over it really quick, right? That's why we're here. Let me, how you say? Let me give you the details really quick. So if you want to learn any scale, my suggestions are learn it on the cage system, learning on the 3 notes per string, learn it on a single string, and then maybe do what we did today. If you do all this, you're set. If you want to do more, you could maybe start doing 4 notes per string if the scale allows it. Some scales it just doesn't make any sense. And then I would probably do octaves displacement, so play the first octave, you know, do octaves thing, because that would kind of free you up and give you a bit of agility. And then harmonize it. I would say harmonize all your scales, and it's in the book, but really what I would do is play in second, in third, in fourth, oh, sorry, in fifth, in sixth. So you can see my life has been pretty sad. Look at how I remember all this stuff. And then seventh. I would do that. It's great for your technique, and it will elevate your ear, and then you can do chords. That's major and minor chords. You could do sevenths and stuff like that. So see, in these 20 seconds, I gave you enough work for the rest of the year, probably. Well, more than that, right? We only have 2 weeks to go. But it's really that simple. And I think the function of somebody who teaches is just to sometimes remind people what they have to do, and you know, and show them that they're doing it too, right? Because it's easy to say do this and then I don't do it, right? But the reason I'm giving that advice is that you will see benefits, right? And sometimes in methods and books, there's an emphasis on what to do, but you know, it's important to see why you're doing it. So if I can help with that, that's really all I'm here for. You shouldn't just do what I say, but the 4 notes per string is the way Allan Holdsworth used to think about scale shapes, right? Well, yeah, I have no, you know, I once watched his video. He had an instructional video, and I couldn't make out anything. I was just a kid. I was like 16 or 17. And I watched it, and after 1 hour, I'm like, okay, I'm exactly where I started, right? After 1 hour, I'm just exactly where I was 1 hour ago. So I turned it off. But I did listen to a lot of his records. I really liked his music. But as far as that method, I'm like, okay. But you know, that's the thing. We are all, well, not all of us, but a lot of us are self-taught. I was self-taught. Of course, I'm not even putting myself on the same planet as Allan Holdsworth. But a lot of people who become proficient and kind of develop, you know, musically their own stuff, they're self-taught, and they start picking stuff off different places. And it is a bit, you know, if you put enough work, I think being self-taught is actually really good. But then you get these things, and if you never have to teach them, then you never really verbalize them. So Allan Holdsworth, the video was crazy, but my method, you know, I had to, through the years of teaching, learn how to make it make sense and being able to present it. But when I studied, for example, the 3 notes per strings, I didn't know what they were. You know, I didn't know it was 3 notes per string. It just made sense. So sometimes when you get into the very idiosyncratic players like Allan Holdsworth, it gets really hard for them to explain what it is they're doing. So my way of doing it, it's always been just listen to it, and then you will find your own path to it. You know, it usually helps. The sad life of a musician pays off eventually. Yes. Well, if you if you think that this is payoff, then yes, it has paid off. I know how to harmonize every scale. No, I know what you mean. Thanks. Yeah. Same here, Reki. Yeah. Is it best to play a string below with a downstroke and upstroke on string above when soloing? Well, I hate to say this, that is art, but in the book, I talk about what I call convergent and divergent pick, and I don't know if it's a real word, or I mean, the words are real. I don't know if it's a real technique or not, but when I think that you should master every direction of pick independently of what's before and after, right? So I had an example. It was here, I think. So you're playing these two very simple shapes, and you're playing down, up, down, up, down, up. So this is an example of convergent picking, because when I finish on one string, I'm done on the fourth string now. I'm done on a downstroke. And that downstroke brings me to the next string, which is the third. Right? And so and then when I finish on the first string, up, down, up on the third, it brings me back the upstroke. It brings me back towards the fourth. So it's a constant, it's getting closer always to the next note that I need. But if I do the opposite, if I play it backwards, so descending, see what happens now. I play down, up, down on the third. That downstroke takes me closer to the second string, but that's not where I want to go. I want to go to the fourth string. So I need to pass over the third and go hit the fourth. And then when I get to the fourth, this final upstroke takes me towards the fifth string, whereas I want to go to the third, and it's the same thing. And to me, I discovered through the years that it's a great sign of good technique when you don't mind divergent or convergent. You don't care if you're going towards or what do you call it? Or away from. So can I play with the same tempo, sound, speed, timbre, attack, cleanliness? Can I do all that divergent and convergent? And that would be a great test of your technique, and that's what I kind of talk about in the book. I'm not trying to plug it, but it is, I discuss it in there a little bit. But now you know it, so I hope that answers your question. All right. Do you guys have any more questions? We've been going for an hour and 15 minutes. Is it possible? No, it's been an hour. Okay, 1 hour, which I think we reached the point where we... Wait. So, unless you have more questions, maybe we should wrap it up. I've seen that 1 hour is kind of like the best kind of time. And but I'm here if you have more questions, of course. But otherwise, we'll just adjourn to next week. I'll get to the part. Yes. Oh, by the way, yes, you do have the book, right? I'm sorry. That's a good thing, though. There's been so much enthusiasm about it that I forget how many of you got it. So if you enjoyed it or if you didn't enjoy it, please do let me know in the comments. I don't mind if, because I'm going to do more. So your suggestions, they will be very much appreciated. I try to keep it short, not like, the text is not spaced four lines to make it look bigger. So it's all very condensed. You can have it on your phone. You can have it with you everywhere. And that's kind of what I went for. I hope the explanations are clear. And do I play 7 strings? No, I would like a 7-string guitar. I've been kind of looking at that, but then it's so hard to play 6 of them, right? 7 sounds like a huge undertaking for me. That's like, more work. But I do kind of like the idea of having that note there. Jenny says, totally inspired, way better than the Mel Bay I got in the 70s. Well, that's great. That's great to hear. Mel Bay's a staple, so thank you. Just open it and I'll get to it in this coming week. All right, yes, please do let me know. And Carlos, you have it. It's great getting both hands fine-tuned with the exercise. Great. That's great to hear. In the little presentation video, if you want to leave your comments and questions there, then it's kind of like a central place, and I will always keep an eye out, and then I can answer things here in these videos, and maybe will give me ideas for the next Music Talk Live. 7 strings for gent. I don't know what that. I think I know what gent is, but not really. And so no, I can hear stuff in my head that I would need a 7-string for, and maybe I'll get one day. What's your favorite band? Queen. Queen is my favorite band. People always say, oh, let me think, there's so many. Queen is the best band ever. Better than everybody, better than the Beatles. I know, it's crazy, but Queen is the best band in the world. But I'm really a huge fan of a lot of bands, all the classic, Maiden. AC/DC was my first concert. I was so excited when they released that last record. I spent all night listening to it like a kid. I was up for 4 hours until 6 in the morning till 5 in the morning listening to that record, Power Up. But my favorite band, Queen, no doubt about it. Like, I don't even have to think about it. I am actually doing better than I thought. We'll let you know when I start cussing. All right. And your band is Alice in Chains. Look up Steve T. Berry Look up Gent and Steve. All right, I will. That's gonna get me into trouble, because then I have to spend next summer learning how to do that. I'm a bit obsessive with things. So, all right. So, yeah. Let's see. Well, I don't have any more material today, but maybe we should. By the way, the next couple of weeks, everything will be the same. I think I'll be able to be live because nobody can travel. At least here in Spain, we are not allowed to travel, and I think a lot of you in Europe and the United States, I don't know how it is, but a lot of people cannot travel. So I'll be here certainly next week, which will be the 19th, and then I think also the next one. Now the first week of January we might have to maybe skip 1 week, or I will maybe record something previously. I just don't know exactly what it is we can and we cannot do. So for now, let's just reconvene for next week, and you can probably be sure that the following one as well, if you guys want, because maybe you're on holiday in your own house with your own family and you don't want to listen to me blabbing about guitar. So next week we'll talk about it. If you guys want, I should be here also in a couple of weeks. And then Issue says, how to focus on building speed with your accuracy and tone. Well, that's a big question, Issue. If you're planning to be here in the next weeks, I'd be more than happy to answer more questions. Okay, just the thing is, after 1 hour, I think a lot of people are like, okay, enough, right? But maybe you know what you could do? Write a comment, because the chat is a bit, you never know if it stays, but write a comment in this video. As soon as it's over, you can write a comment with the question, and I will certainly get to it, maybe do a whole video on it. So please do. That's one thing you guys are not, well, not you, but people who are watching, if you're watching this, please do not hesitate to use the comments. Do leave me questions. It's not to get more comments, it's just to know what it is you guys want, because I never watch these again, of course. They're pretty long, and some of the questions just escape my mind later. So please do use the comments. That way I get a notification, I write them down, and I can do a video. And the good guitarist and has some Gent stuff. All right, Issue by his book. Yes. Which one? Please tell me the name. Stevie T. Yeah, Issue she's talking about my book. There's a link in the description, and if you watch the video from the beginning, you'll see a little bit of a taste of it. There's a link to another video if you want to know more about it. And yeah, it's a book on alternate picking that could help you out. All right, Alberto, see you. It's been good seeing you, Jenny. And Reiki, thanks. Thank you. See you, Issue. Yeah, see you next time. All right. So much thanks. Thanks to you for being here. No problem. If I could help, I'm happy. And by the way, beware, can get a bit crazy, but with good intent and humor. All right. Cool. I will check it out. That is art. Well, everybody, have a good one. Have a great rest of the weekend. Stay safe. And Jim says that he always gets something from my live streams. Well, thank you very much. That's why we're here. And again, thank you all for everything, for being here, for your support, and for spreading the word. I know you are doing a lot for the channel, and I'm happy to think that is because it's useful, and that's why we're here. All right, so wherever you are in the world, good night, good morning, have a great rest of the day. And if you are in Asia, go to bed, because it's probably pretty late. All right, see you soon. Have a good one. Bye-bye.